Hello and welcome to Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast / Argentinian history podcast. This week we were joined by Stephen Mullan, who came in to help us say names correctly when we were talking about one of Argentina's big naval heroes, Guillermo Brown from Foxford, County Mayo. This was a very fun episode. We recorded it in the Halfpenny and we finally got some video as well, which we'll be sticking up on social media at some point next week. But while we were busy trying to get all the video, we fucked up the audio. We lost about 10-15 minutes at the start, which I've salvaged some of it, but the first bit are a little choppy. So you can fast forward through those if you want, straight into the meat of it. I think it's grand. But, you know, if you're listening to the first 2 minutes, you're like, what the fuck is... This is outrageous. I should complain to the podcast board of standards. Just fast forward until minute 5 and enjoy the rest of the episode recorded properly by professionals. But yeah, that's it. We had a good gig down in Cork the other week. The next gig we have is in Belfast on the 24th of November, so I'll put a link for that in the description of this episode, as well as a link for Stephen Mullan's social media stuff. If you want to follow him, he's a very funny comedian, very sound man. And that is it. Here is this week's episode about Guillermo Brown.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall. Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find. Joseph from Carlo and Kevin the dog. Guide you through the ways of Shite.
Yeah, we should jump straight into it.
Hey everyone.
We're here with Stephen Mullan. Stephen, you're here because you're half Argentinian.
That's correct.
And
The good
Said
half.
that, you know, I've just realised I can't find my Argentinian passport. Not to be thinking about that now. But
Are you dual citizenship?
Yeah,
then?
yeah, yeah. I got my citizenship when I was early 20s.
Oh, right.
What does that give you access to?
It
Just...
gives you a cheaper inland travel in South America.
Really?
Okay.
Do you have a card or something?
You have you have an ID card, like the equivalent of maybe like your PPS or your passport, and then when you book flights and buses and all that, you just have to type in your Argentinian ID, and works in Brazil, Paraguay, the whole lot. I think I remember like you could get up to 20% off on travel, you know.
Can anyone stick your number in?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question.
You could try it. Yeah. If knowing my luck, I'd try it and then arrive somewhere and the police would be waiting for me. To be like, Mr. Mullan, we've finally got you. Well, do you know much about Argentina but other than football?
Well,
I got there
yes,
before,
yeah. But that's no. We did that one episode about Don Julio. No, I forgot. We've done too many episodes now. I did it an Argentinian episode.
Oh yeah,
That's
right,
where
yeah.
I found out the fourth biggest diaspora within Argentina is Irish people.
Yeah.
That it goes like German. Or what's the deal with that?
Well, there is a bit. There is a bit of like because people would make jokes about it a lot, but yeah, there's definitely. I think it was. I can't remember if it was Perón or one of the leaders were basically. I don't know if you'd say Nazi sympathisers. I suppose they were sympathisers. They had somewhere to hide out, you know, in Patagonia down the south.
But how much of that's kind of overblown then? Because everyone's like, any white Argentinian, you know where they came from?
Apparently,
Or like the blue-eyed, blonde-haired ones, I guess.
Yeah. But there's a good I mean, a lot of like you look at how, for example, how beautiful Brazilians are because it's such a mix of immigration from Europe, but then Africa as well, and then indigenous people from Brazil as well, and all that kind of stuff. So the melting pot that goes on there, that you get all these stunning, beautiful looking people. And Argentina doesn't have that. I wouldn't say it's that diverse, but there's a lot of German, Italian, and Spanish would be the big ones over to Argentina. So and it's kind of the majority of the population at the moment.
You got the Argentinian side looks-wise then, not the...
yeah, I suppose, yeah, maybe, yeah. I suppose I don't really... when I was a kid, I definitely looked way different than all the other Irish kids, for sure. Like, 'cause when you're playing around outside, I would go much darker. Because I remember, I kind of recall in one of my sets that the neighbours used to nickname me Eskimo, right? Which I think is really harsh. But then I did see a photo of myself recently enough in the 90s, and I was like, Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But I suppose you guys, I don't know if we're around the same age, but like Ireland was so white in those days that there was no people of colour, like nobody.
No. I'm from Carlow, in a very rural town in Carlow, and it's only in the past like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
it's noticeable now, yeah.
Then if you were to meet my mom, for example, my mom's a lot lighter than I am. That's, you just don't know. Like that's the mix. Like my brother and I would be darker. My sister's not that.
Yeah, all my siblings are super pale, but I go like, when I was living in Texas, I would often get people coming up talking to me in Spanish and be like, "Oh no, I can't do this."
Muy bien, boy.
Completely unrelated. About 30 years ago, his dad was out of town for a couple of weeks. But listen, anyway, well, actually,
Spanish sailors got as far as Lachlan.
Very lost.
Find their way
Spaniards.
onto the barrow.
Well, that kind of starts into the story of so the story is going to be about William Brown. I think I underappreciated how much people love him in Argentina. If he disappeared under the table.
I shouldn't have trusted Kev when he was like, "Should we check levels? Do you know what? It'll be grand." It was like one of the mics wasn't on and the other one was turned down to 10%.
There you go. So that's why he's in charge of all the equipment. I've just been sitting here. He sent me out for batteries to get me out of the way. It's just some batteries and squashies and then come back in 20 minutes. Thought I'd get arrested if I asked that woman for squashies.
Oh, really? Why?
That just sounds too suggestive. She was... There's a fucking pack of batteries and there's a couple of squashies there if you had them.
I think the wink was the problem.
And the accent, the way you did that.
It's involuntary. It's how I ask for things at shops.
It's just how I talk to women.
It's just how I talk when there's a fine young woman around. Anyway, listen.
Hello.
Great. Smashed it the first time. People, there'll be a video jump and we're all looking more frustrated and I have no jumper.
Oh yeah,
you
know it's getting serious now.
Yeah, I
Kev
realised
takes the
that.
jumper off.
I put a hat on. I was like, I can't. The audience will know.
The audience will know.
That'll be the giveaway.
Yeah. I can't. What comedian used to do it? He'd show up wearing loads of layers and he'd take them off one by one as the act went on, so that it couldn't be edited. When it went on TV, it couldn't be edited to like.
Actually, wow, that's pretty cool.
Forced continuity, but. Anyway,
wasn't Joey from Friends. Anyway, that's
no.
that episode.
Argentina. I don't know if you know this, Stephen.
Argentina,
fifth biggest diaspora of Irish people in the world.
I did not know that before the first take of this podcast.
No, biggest non-English speaking diaspora. That's where we all ended up in the 1800s.
Wow.
We all fucked off there after the famine. But listen, we're talking about William Brown
Guillermo.
from Foxford, Mayo.
Foxford, Mayo, that's right. Yeah.
Guillermo Brown or Almirante Brown.
Admirante, yeah. Jeez, I should have warmed up on my Espanol. Lo siento, mamá.
How is the Spanish?
It's okay. I like when I was a waiter in London, I could serve tables in Spanish, for example.
Yeah.
I understand way more than I can speak, but I think my Spanish has come along a lot in the last few years. And through not speaking Spanish, because my daughter is bilingual. She's Portuguese and Irish. Her mother's Portuguese. So just hearing that, it's a very different sound, but there's a lot of crossover. So it sounds very different, but there's a lot of crossover. So then I found myself in a few situations where I didn't want people to understand what I was saying. So I was speaking Spanish to her, and I was quite surprised with what I was coming out with.
Yeah.
So I just seemed to pick up, A lot of the verbs and all that kind of stuff are very similar.
That's the only time I find myself speaking Irish is on holidays. When I'm trying to very slowly say something to people.
To Ucras Urim.
To
Broner.
I had an American fella in Vietnam give out to me and my friends for in the taxi on the way home, being like, "It's fucking rude, man, to speak another language. We know you're talking about us." I'm like, we were legitimately just drunk and speaking English.
It's hard to keep up with sometimes. But he was born in Mayo in 1777. You like this now. Little was known of his early life.
I love that.
Yes.
That's handy.
I have read that up years ago. Yeah. He's kind of a bit of a lot of people don't seem to officially know why he left as well. I think, is that another thing? Or?
I think that's so. Apparently, this is a reference to something we were talking about in the first take, but he might have been illegitimate.
Yeah.
So his name's Brown, but his dad's name might have been Gannon.
Right.
He might have been an illegitimate son.
Okay.
But listen, it makes our job much easier. They don't know much about him. We just leave the early life.
Just make it up.
Done. Yeah. He
He
left.
was a player. That's why he left.
He was. He left behind a lot of broken hearts.
Yeah.
But him and his dad emigrated over to Baltimore, Maryland
That's right.
in 1797.
Bringing it all back now. Yes, yeah, I did know this. Yeah.
The home of The Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it.
That's why he wanted to go there. Yeah.
Kevin's dad gave me a dap the other day out on the street. He
Oh,
came
yeah.
in with I went for a regular handshake. 'Cause
Oh, yeah?
he's an elderly man from Monaghan.
Yeah.
And I was like, go for that. And he was like, no, bring it in. Shoulder bump.
Really? Oh my
He's
goodness.
a big fan of The Wire.
I was from that. He got it from.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. I
That's
remember
impressive.
we were watching it once, and he was just like, "How did they do that?" And I looked over at him, and he was just like trying to just get his hands going. Now he's perfected this. He's a happy man.
Well, now, of course, bringing it back to Argentina. In Argentina, like, it took me a while to get used to it. Especially when you go over there, like, and you haven't been for years or whatever, like, you kiss. Everyone kisses, like, man. It's
double
like,
cheek.
yeah, on the, hola, che, ¿cómo te va, boludo? You know, hugs and kisses and all that. And if you don't, everyone goes, hey. You know, like, what are you doing? Like, it's a thing. Yeah.
How's that as an Irishman? You must have 50% of you is so struggling with dealing with affection and intimacy.
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's when you're over there, it's kind of like my memory of being there. Like, they're very tactile. They're Latino, so you know they're very tactile. It's everything's touchy feely. So
Yeah.
you become the odd one out when you're not a little bit. And because I'm kind of used to it, having gone since the first time I was there, I was 10 months old. So you kind of get used to it. But the abiding memory I didn't get as bad. My brother definitely got it worse because he's a little chubbier. But they grab your cheeks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, qué lindo, like este nene. And you're like outside the church going, Jesus Christ, will you let go of me?
But it must have been like in The Departed, DiCaprio's character, he's undercover. You flipping back and forth between kissing and hugging and going back to rural Cork and just being like, fucking touch me.
Yeah, don't fucking touch me, boy.
fucking step off, man.
Your shadow.
Yeah.
You'd want to fucking get away from me now, kid.
You mix up where you are and boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fucking roasted.
Gives a kiss there, Kino. Fuck off.
Give me a bow. Get the fuck out of here. I thought you were from New York there for a second. I don't know. But he has a nice old time over in the States.
Yes, that's right.
So they're staying with a family. The family's put them up, giving them accommodation. Whoever it was that's putting them up gets yellow fever. They die. It's not good. Then Guillermo's dad, also yellow fever, also dies.
Suspicious.
So, yes.
Sorry.
They're all dead. Anyway, they're breezing
who
through.
gets the house?
Instead of getting a house, he gets to have long walks on the river by himself. So I think
Right.
he's just sort of wandering around.
Okay.
He's walking down the Delaware River one day. This
Right.
is just how the 1700s operated, when a fucking man could get ahead.
Yeah.
Walking down the river, sees an older man with a ship.
That's
Captain
right.
says, do you want a job?
Yeah,
He
that's
says, one. And then he starts working as a cabin boy on the ship.
right. And he works his way up.
And off he heads. So he spends the next 10 years at sea, makes his way up to the rank of captain.
Capitan.
Capitan. Well, that hasn't come yet.
El Capitan.
At this point, he's still Mr. Brown.
Oh, that's yeah.
The Mayo man. Well, it is the boy at this stage. But so he's out at sea as a captain, and he gets ganged into the British Royal Navy to go fight in the Napoleonic Wars. So we talked about this in some other episodes, but the British love to just hop onto ships, especially like American ships after the Revolution. They just hop onto ships. If there's anyone like vaguely English or Irish, they just put them into the Navy and take them off to go fight in the wars.
Yeah.
So how much do you know about the Napoleonic Wars?
Not a lot. I just know about
He was short.
Yes, I know that.
There was a war.
Yeah.
There was a war, yeah.
I know.
Was the war short, or how long was this?
Been done for a long time.
Yeah, I see. He's projected.
I know
he's
a lot of Irish fought in the Battle of Waterloo. I know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, a lot.
Including the Phoenix Park Wellington Monument.
That's
after,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Duke of Wellington, he's a Dublin-born man. But basically, 1799, Napoleon takes over France. He decides, why not fucking take over all of Europe while he's at it. They start expanding over the continent of Europe for about 16 years. Well, this will come up a bit later on, but the Battle of Trafalgar,
Yes.
1805. The English beat the French and the Spanish navies all together. Admiral Nelson is leading the English in that battle. We have Nelson's monument on O'Connell Street for years after that. Then the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, the English defeat the French. ABBA writes a song about it, and that's pretty much the end of the Napoleon Wars. But that's
skip 200 years.
skip 200 years. There you go.
We're a loose history podcast.
Yeah,
nice.
But that's the brief period we'll be talking about Brown in Argentina. So when he's in Argentina, all through Europe, there's no point getting into it because every 2 years everyone switches sides. But basically, it's all during the time when Napoleon's trying to take over all of Europe. So Brown, he's forced into the Navy to go fight against the French, but he has no allegiance to the British. He escapes the ship that he's on. Apparently, he scuttled it on his way out. I don't know if that's true.
Scuttled it. What does that mean? Shit himself.
Just shit himself on
Alright.
the way out. he named
We know you're going, William.
he named the
Crash through a
poop
bunch
deck.
of rocks. Like, what was that sound? It was the ship. It was,
He said, I don't know, he said he destroyed the ship on the way out, but then the French catch him. They don't believe him. They throw him in prison. Eventually, he breaks out, makes his way over to German territory, which was a good thing at the time, and finally makes his way back to England, where he gives up on this whole being a sailor crack. He decides to settle down and get married. In July of 1809, he marries Elizabeth Chitty. I was going to say shitty, but now it seems inappropriate based on Chitty.
when they had sex, would he say?
Chitty bang
Shitty,
bang.
shitty,
Yes.
bang, bang.
Yeah, that's written in here. Jason will reference chitty bang bang.
That's in the notes.
That's in the notes.
The rehearsed bit.
That's what happens when you live together. You
yeah.
spend too much time with each other.
Do you?
Oh yeah. And
No, podcast, run the club, live together, and then outside of that, friends.
it's
That's
a
the
real-
worst of
I
all.
have a picture of the two of you in bed with microphones. Like fucking Bert and Ernie.
Good night, Bert.
Yeah.
That's where we are, by the way, the club.
Yes.
We'll talk about it later, maybe. She's never mentioned again, his wife.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I assume she's around because he mentions briefly that he has kids, but
Oh, does he? Yeah, I don't
know.
know if I had knowledge of them. That is interesting. What was he up to at that stage?
yeah.
But that's also parts of history that like the fucking history of women is so bad.
Yeah.
So it's like she
Yeah.
probably was up to all sorts of grey crack and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But they're like, no, we're not writing that down.
her name
Yeah.
was Chitty. That's enough for the history
That's enough
books.
for the Chitty,
Well,
and not even a second name.
I noticed it with like people just off of Wikipedia when I'm reading stuff, because like modern days, if it's an actor, musician, or anyone, it like has a little blue thing with the spouse or
Yeah.
partners,
Yeah.
and then kids and all of that. If you go back through like, this man was a revolutionary leader for like 20 years, like, and there's no mention of his wife at all.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just completely gone.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, or it'll just be like, Kevin Lerney and wife executed for crimes against humanity.
I think it was right up into the 1960s or 70s that in Ireland, you were still like by marriage, you were as the woman, you were always property of the guy.
Your PPS number when you got married just became
Really.
whatever the man's PPS number was, and then W at the end of it.
where did it all go wrong?
The 1990s when they decided to stop doing that, apparently. But he was a Catholic and she was a Protestant.
Oh.
Ooh, yes.
Wow.
So they agreed to raise their son's Catholic and their daughter's Protestant.
Okay.
Pretty,
Wow.
yeah.
There you go.
I got into an argument once with a woman at a house party. I said if instead of double barrel names, and because they're only going to keep Dublin,
Yeah.
they're going to run out of space. What if you just named all your sons after the mother and all your daughters after the father? And you just sat off like that, and she called me.
You're a prick, yeah.
I am a prick, but not for that reason. I thought that was pretty good. She's not.
But that's the way they do it in most Latin countries. Well, certainly Spain, I know they do that. I actually don't think they do it in Argentina, but you're always double barrel of your parents' name all the time. Like
But
the
then when
mother of
you
my
get-
child's name is Maria Inés de Noronha y Andrada Torres.
okay.
That's 3 surnames in there.
Right. Yeah, actually.
And her mother wanted to put that on our child. And I was like, no, you're getting one. That's it. That's it. Then she was, oh, please, 'cause my name won't be carried on. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
You pick your favorite one
Yeah,
and use
yeah.
it as the
Yeah.
middle name.
Yeah.
Well, so when do you stop? Because like, how many family names can you get into one name?
It's a weird culture of it over there. It's just a bit like it's crazy.
Well, I've always seen it with footballers because they'll like, they'll just go by a nickname because
They'll
their
end up
actual
going,
one
yeah.
is like 5 or 6 different words.
Yeah.
That's very, especially Brazilian lads. They have everyone has De Silva in there and like another 10 other things as well.
Yeah.
Who's this De Silva player? That's all over the whole con-
We're gonna lose Kevin now. if we-
I'm realizing
Sorry,
that I've written an awful lot of people's full names in this because I thought it'd be funny to say.
Oh, we could try to say some of them.
Oh,
yeah.
listen, that's half the
Oh,
podcast.
listen.
Oh, God. God almighty. Same year he gets married, 1809. Brian's like, fuck the UK. I'm away heading off to Rio de la Plata.
Yeah, that's good.
Sets himself up as a merchant in the city of Montevideo.
So he just went from England to Argentina there to Rio de la Plata.
Yeah.
Fucking, because I thought I could have read that wrong now, but I thought he'd gone from all his carry on in the US and then he ended up down in Argentina. He kind of just traveled down or something like that. But yeah,
He got kidnapped, basically, went and fought the French,
Yes, that's right.
and
Yeah.
then sort of
Yeah.
ended up back in England, and then headed off to Argentina for a better life.
Unbelievable. The
Yeah,
amount of people that go to Argentina for the women. But anyway, we'll go on.
he left his wife conveniently at home. Like, shitty, you stay here.
Yeah, you stay here. I'm just
I'm
gonna.
gonna scope it out for a couple of years and let you know. Well, he sets himself up. He's a merchant there. He's in Montevideo. Becomes a merchant.
What's the name of that place? Sorry, can we look at the spelling of that?
Montevideo. It's the capital
Montevideo.
of Uruguay now.
Oh, right,
I
yeah.
believe. But at the time,
So Spanish speakers would pronounce the V as a B.
oh,
So they say Montevideo.
Montevideo.
I could be wrong. Maybe they do pronounce that as a V, but you'll notice it when they speak English.
Yeah.
I'm very, very sleepy. Like, the, you know,
Ah.
the kind of the...
And the J has become a ch.
Yeah, the J's become a ch. And in Argentina, what's very specific to Argentina, like Spanish speakers will spot you. Sorry, not Spanish speakers. Spanish people. Like I remember being on the Camino de Santiago speaking Spanish to other Spanish walkers there, and they're straight away like, "Oh, you're from Argentina," straight away, because you say some of the Y's. So yo, Y-O, which means me.
Yeah.
Argentinians would say jo.
Jo.
And then anything that's got double L's in it, they pronounce as a je as well. So
Ah.
chicken is pollo for Spanish
Yeah,
in Spain.
yeah.
So I'll never forget ordering off a woman, and I didn't know this at the time. No one had told me that, and I said papa frites con pollo por favor, and she's like pollo, and I was like pollo, and she's like, pollo. I was like, you get it. Just like I didn't realize that it was
It's
a thing.
yeah.
It's the same thing, but it's just a double L they turn into a je.
Or the je as well. I remember my Catalonian housemate used to say, they're like, ha ha ha.
Yeah,
This is
ja,
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 yeah,
ja.
yeah.
Ja, 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 ja,
When you,
ja,
when,
ja,
yeah,
ja.
in the text it's like ja, 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 ja.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as a Korean is like XIX.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Z. I don't know, anyway. But yeah, he's a merchant. He becomes a big old ship man. He buys a schooner called Industria, Spanish for industry.
Yeah.
Pretty cocky of him. But anyway,
I like how you think all your Korean friends are like, they must be laughing at all of my jokes, and they were just sending you Z. It's like, yeah, I don't. This is so boring. You're like, I'm cracking these up.
yeah, I like to think I have many Korean friends.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, have you lived in Korea?
No, I was in a Korean restaurant earlier on today. White Rabbit,
Oh, nice.
fucking very nice.
On Cable Street or the one
On Cable Street.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm gonna bleep that out with the podcast now, unless they sponsor it.
Yeah, it's on you, Rabbit. Anyway, so he starts setting up this sailing service between Montevideo and Buenos Aires. So it's the first of its kind in South America. He's shipping stuff between them. So it's the first of its kind because the Spanish colonial government don't like this sort of stuff. And they step in and destroy your ship. They don't want trade between these cities. Because, well, so the River Plate is full of opportunity for lads with ships.
Yep.
It's a new frontier.
Yeah.
There's loads of minerals and stuff that the natives weren't using. That I fucking let's dig it up and start selling it.
Yeah.
A lot of trade to be done. But the Spanish, in 1542, the Spanish set up the Viceroyalty of Peru. They make Lima the capital of all the colonies in South America. 2 years later, a man by the name of Lopo Homen.
Show me that.
There we
You
go.
do pretty Lobo Coleman, yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm just
think
going to
so.
start swinging for the
I thought
fences.
so. I've
Yeah.
never even heard that name though before. Like
So,
Lobo Coleman.
so he's the first. He marks an area on the map called Terra Argenta, which means the land of silver.
Argenta, yeah.
Yeah. So
Argenta.
that's where all the they knew or they'd heard legends that there was silver all around this area.
Right.
So because even plata is an old slang for silver.
Yeah.
So River de Plata is the silver river. So
Yeah.
the whole thing was just Argentina is just like the land of silver.
Yeah. And you have Mar del Plata as well, which is the beach of silver as well,
Yeah.
which is further down. All
So
that,
they're
yeah.
just there's like a cartoon character just walking in with like big dollar signs.
Yeah.
All this over silver. No.
Which was up to my grandmother's time in the 1930s. I think she emigrated to Argentina from Calabria, south of Italy. That was still the kind of the mindset of the immigrants in those days, that you went there for because
Yeah.
the streets were filled with silver and gold. Like, well,
Yeah,
it
that's
wasn't, by the way.
no. It turns out very much not.
Didn't have a great time, but when she
But
got
like,
over.
at
No.
least that's like, if you're wrong, at least it's good climate and a nice place to go to. Whereas all the Irish are like, let's go to Montana and mine for silver. And it's cold and it's windy and it's shit and you never get anything and you just die at 30 with a broken leg.
It's a hell of
Unfortunately,
a
though, if you're moving from Italy to Argentina, you're not going. At least the weather's not. No, the weather was grand back home.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
There was slightly less fascism in one of the places. I don't know. We left all the fascist stuff out at the start. I'm not going to trip up that.
There's a lot of fascism.
but- So, the explorers, so they start setting up towns to steal more stuff from the old natives. But, yeah, the rule at the time is that all the trade needs to go through Lima, which is in Peru, which is on the far side of the country from Buenos Aires. So that's why when Brown is setting up his, like, intercity route to start doing trade, if you steal silver from Buenos Aires and you want to ship it back to Europe, the Spanish say you have to go through Lima, which is a pain in the balls.
That's how they get their tax, obviously.
That's how they get their tax, and that's how they control all the exports.
Yeah.
Now, they ease up stuff as the years go on everything except silver. But then the new settlers that are in Buenos Aires realize the whole fucking place is surrounded by grass and just start selling beef.
Yeah.
So, was it La Pampas?
Las Pampas, yeah.
Las Pampas.
Is this where all those steakhouses are coming from now?
Well,
Yeah.
I was just going to say they haven't stopped.
They haven't stopped,
'Cause
no.
it's a big part of gaucho culture, like the Argentinian farmers, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
they're kind of like, to have a proper gaucho asado is like amazing. They'll kind of, I've had loads of asado, but they don't waste one bit of the cow. Like, they kind of just, and they'll find a grill somewhere and they can build it anywhere. They can make that fire happen anywhere.
Yeah, which apparently comes from this period where they're just like, cow becomes the main commodity because you can basically just get around paying the Spanish a load of tax on it.
Yeah.
But then, so gaucho is basically cowboy or
essentially,
like equivalent.
Yeah.
There's a gauchos here down in Smithfield restaurant.
Is there? In
Yeah.
Smithfield?
Yeah,
I live down that
just
way.
in the Keys, yeah.
Jeez, I didn't know. I did
They're
not know.
on-
My mom lives in Smithfield, for fuck's sake. How does she know about it? Is it new enough or?
It's new enough, yeah. It's there beside Frank Ryan's. I don't know if it's any good.
Fucking hell. Right, yeah. That's
Listen,
around the corner.
Head down there tomorrow.
I'm off now. Well, I don't go for dinner tonight.
So yeah, we've got. We might have time.
But so that's kind of the brief history of Buenos Aires leading up to. Buenos Aires means good wind.
Good air or good wind.
Or good air, yeah. I was just having fun learning what stuff means. But
Yeah.
so the Napoleonic Wars in 1807, it's divided into different bits, but this period's the Peninsular War. Spain, Portugal, and the UK fight against the French for invading the Iberian Peninsulas. The French were allied with the Spanish. Spanish let them through so they could invade Portugal. And then when Napoleon was down in Portugal, he said, fuck it, take Spain as well. They kidnap King Ferdinand VII of Spain.
Right.
He puts his brother Joseph. Oh no, he definitely wasn't Joseph. He would have been
Jose.
Joseph. What's
was
the
he?
French Joseph?
Oh, he was French.
He's Napoleon's brother.
Joseph.
Joseph. He puts Joseph Bonaparte. He makes him the king of Spain. The Spanish, they don't like that. But
No bueno, you might say.
very much no. From every peasant to the fucking lord in the street says no bueno. And there's a large scale uprising starting the following year with Dos de Mayo uprising, the second de Mayo uprising, or
Dos de
1808.
Mayo, you say.
Dos de Mayo.
Mayo, yeah.
Yeah. So that's all happening in the European side. Bonaparte's tried to take over Spain. Well, he does from 1808 until 1814. But now, so this is what I mean when it keeps flipping back, because now the Spanish just let him in to attack the Portuguese, and then once it backfired on them, they team up with the Portuguese and the British, who they were fighting 2 years ago, to fight against the French, who were friends with the British 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
Fuck me. Like,
it's every 2 years they all flip sides.
It's mental. But even like I did Irish history like in lockdown.
Yeah.
Like from
did
basically
we.
from the famine up until like the War of Independence. Like and it's so people today make it so black and white, and it's not. It's so complicated. Fucking hell.
And then everyone hated the British, and then Parnell came along, and we all celebrated, and 1916 happened.
Did it. Fuck.
60
That's not the way
years
it
of
happened at all.
people just
Yeah. So all the people are fighting all the time. Those days.
But then, especially back in those days, like it's literally may as well be happening on another planet. But all the settlers in Argentina, they're just hearing all this news coming across the world, and it affects who's in charge of all the areas that they're in. So in 1807, when this is all happening, the English show up to Buenos Aires and start to try and steal. It's just before this happens. They go in to steal the Pampas, take over there. They're like, fucking, it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
So then the Buenos Aires have to defend themselves against the English, and they get no help from old Spain, which gets them thinking, fuck Spain. So what are they doing for us anyway? And then when the French take over, they use that as an excuse to sort of claim a certain independence. In May, they have their own revolution, May Revolution, which is probably how you pronounced it a second ago.
I just realized, because when you said Mayo, that would be, but Mayo would be the
Yeah.
Argentinian way of saying it. Yeah,
So
yeah.
Mayo, so there's the Spanish have a May Revolution in 1808. 2 years later, the Argentinians have a revolution in May
Yeah.
as well.
Was that Cinco de Mayo? That was a Mexican, wasn't it?
Cinco de Mayo. It's fucking May is a big time for
Yeah,
just Spanish speakers kicking off.
There is it, but they have streets, like, for example, like Nueva de Julio and all that kind of stuff. The streets will be named after the dates of these wars and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, which is a bit mad. Like, imagine walking down like O'Connell Street was like the 3rd of February. I'll see you on the 3rd of February.
Yeah.
No,
most times now
that's a month away. No, I mean the 3rd of February.
The 3rd of February.
Most times I walk down O'Connell Street now, it feels like it's a war. No, it's been named
Yeah.
after.
yeah.
It seems weird that there's definitely like an Easter Rising Street around here somewhere.
Is there? Yeah, it's good.
Probably.
Jesus, we should know that.
Well,
Well, I mean, all the leaders are named like all over, like Parnell
that's true,
Street and
yeah.
Pierce Street, and there's
Yeah.
loads of them.
I got my first tour about 2 weeks ago, and I had it all written up. And when I showed up to give the tour, it was 6 young English lads who were taking it.
Right.
I had to rewrite a lot of it in my head pretty quickly.
Oh,
But
right.
sure,
geez,
even
yeah.
pointing at every statue and every name is like fucking shot dead in the street like a dog by the
Yeah.
Brit.
And
There's 2 sides to every
yeah,
story.
just,
You gotta,
you gotta get them tips. That's what you gotta.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they weren't so bad. But so they have their own revolution. They unite the regions of Rio de la Plata to create the Junta Provisional Gubernativa de las Provincias del Rio de la Plata.
Wow, that's impressive. Where's that?
Look at this now. It was probably
Junta Provincial Gubernativa de las Provincias del Rio de la Plata. Yeah, that's
which
a long
is
name.
just the United Provinces of the River of Silver.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Yeah. So it's roughly present day, like Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, and parts of Brazil. It's basically the first government takes over on the 25th of May.
25 de Mayo.
So the Spanish have this code called the Siete Partidas, or the 7-part code, which basically says if you think the king's illegitimate, you can set up your own junta.
Mm-hmm.
This is when all the South Spanish areas set up their own juntas when Napoleon's taken over Spain, and they decide to just keep rolling with it and declare independence. This sets off a whole. So in this period, like all of the former Spanish and Portuguese colonies start going for independence.
Yeah.
So when Brown Schooner is attacked, remember Brown?
Guillermo Brown. Yeah.
Guillermo Brown.
Yeah.
A while ago now.
It was a while ago. His ship gets attacked, and basically on the back of this, the Argentinians
rally behind them
and start providing ships to defend Argentina's coastline, and start thinking of themselves as being more separate than a Spanish colony.
And so it's that moment that's kind of essentially the beginning of the Argentinian Navy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they kind of decide, fuck it, we need a navy, and then they realize none of them can sail any ships.
Right,
and
yeah.
They get in this man
who
has what is essentially just like a freight ship.
Yeah.
But he's the best man for the job. So in March 1814, they set a full-scale attack against the Spanish ships.
Vamos!
He comes flying out. He goes and takes over Martin Garcia Island.
Okay. Don't know. Never heard of it.
Never. Yeah.
Don't think so, anyway.
It's referred to as the Rock of Gibraltar of Argentina.
Right, okay.
It's just an island there in the bay. It was named after whatever ship found it first. Their cook had died.
Right.
His name was Martin Garcia.
How's the Rock of Gibraltar of Argentina? It was the Falklands.
Well, the Falklands.
Oh, don't bring that up now.
No.
Jesus Christ.
The Falklands.
We won't get out of this podcast.
I'd written up a bit at the end of that, but there is no time for that now.
Yeah. That is definitely another podcast.
Yeah, for sure. It seemed like a funny
sandwich it in at the very end.
People just kept claiming that they had found it first, and then everyone abandoned it for a while. And then the British came back.
And then the British were like, I don't know what happened. No, I do know exactly, because I wrote about that in that Maradona piece. But basically, La Junta, which were the dictatorship government that were kind of starting to crumble in the 70s into the early 1970s into the early 1980s, they were just running a shit show, and everybody was figuring out what the fuck they were at, which is basically killing 30,000 people on the sly, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we need to defend our country, and they just started this whole thing about we're going to fight for our honour for the Falklands. But it was all just a PR fucking stunt, and like all these young fellas who hadn't a clue to fight just got the English went over with one ship and went like, see you later.
Yeah.
But anyway,
fair play to Thatcher anyway.
Maggie Thatcher, yeah.
But yeah, so he's out fighting the old Martin Garcia. So this is like the first big battle. The Argentinians, they're not called Argentinians. Well, it's not called Argentina yet, but they're out fighting against the Spanish, against the blockade. And apparently,
wonder what they do call themselves at that stage.
They do. I think they call themselves the Argentines,
Right.
but there's no such thing as Argentina yet.
Right. Yeah.
I guess they call themselves that.
There's no state
Junta.
La Junta de
Junta
la
de
blah, blah, blah,
blah. It's a bit mouthy.
Some copywriter said, we need to now.
We
need a better
to
headline than that,
fucking
lads.
Shore it up a
Make
little
it
bit.
snappy.
Yeah.
The Silver Boys.
Yeah.
But apparently during the battle, it's all happening in March. Apparently he gets the troops rallied up by getting them to play St. Patrick's Day in the Morning,
Wow.
a song that I've never heard of before.
Right.
And the only reference when you look it up online is the Argentinian band likes to play it.
Oh, right.
Naval band.
I was going to say a song that you've never heard of before, and I'd say I reckon most of those Argentinians hadn't either.
Yeah,
at that stage.
Yeah, I do.
What the fuck? They're like, la, 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 la.
Yeah, exactly. Because I listened to it and it's not exactly like I was kind of picturing an old, wolf tones like fucking pick up. Or it's just like a yeah. I don't know if they never heard this. Is it St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
Right. But it worked. Listen, there's no point making fun of him. He beat the Spanish blockade, and now they've got control of Montevideo. Brown pretends to retreat, draws the Spanish. So basically, he's broken through the blockade. He's now on the far side of them. Pretends to retreat to bring them all out into sea. Starts fucking attacking them. At some point, he gets his leg shattered by a cannonball.
Oh, Jesus.
That's pretty good, though.
What do you mean?
You assume if you got hit by a cannonball, you'd die.
Mm.
Or like it would blow.
Yeah.
That was my initial reaction. He just got his leg shattered.
It might have fallen onto something.
Right.
And
It
Or
sounded
maybe it was
like
in
he
his own
involved.
ship
It sounded
that
like
just
he was
fell off a
loading.
shelf.
Yeah, he was loading the cannon and it just
It wasn't fired at all.
He just found the bit about the Argentinian compensation for getting injured in battles.
yeah.
He-
Claim.
Roll that over
exaggerated.
there.
An old war story. He dropped it on his big toe.
Yeah.
That was-
Well, apparently, this might be an old war story. Apparently, he's lying on his back on the deck and he's shouting.
Not the orders.
Yeah, shouting the others. Actually, yeah, maybe probably couldn't see anything. So
Yeah.
they probably were like, "Yeah, no worries, Guillermo.
Yeah.
Right, left is this."
Yeah.
But he's an old Argentinian war hero, so he wins the day on his back, shattered leg. It's his first big battle. Everyone thinks he's great, but then he starts heading off, chasing after the Spanish, hunting them down around the place and causing havoc. And all the Argentinians have put a lot of money into his ship, and he keeps getting them shot apart because he's fighting the Spanish.
Right.
And they decide that he's not a war hero anymore. He's a fucking menace.
Yeah.
So at some point, it says he's stranded. He's shipwrecked, stranded on some island, and he's got a bad fever. And that's when he gets the news that he's been sued back in Argentina
Oh,
for
for fuck's sake.
losing all the money.
Me with only one leg.
Him with only one leg. Now, I don't know how he was shipwrecked, stranded on an island, and still able to get communications.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus
From
Christ.
the whole country.
Yeah.
But anyway, so instead of heading back to Argentina, he goes back to England to fight the legal battle. And he wins.
Wow, Jesus.
He's some man. And when he returns to Argentina, they give him control of his ship. His ship that he'd have, they just gift it to him. The Hercules. Or, as the Argentinians would say, Jercules.
I don't know if it's in that one.
I don't know.
Hercules.
And then
he had one arm much bigger than the other.
El Jercules phenomenal.
the fastest jerk in the West. And then he heads back to Argentina and he enjoys the golden years.
Yeah, and by the way, Chitty is still, there's no sign of her.
This is probably when she comes back into it.
really?
I don't know. He says
Right.
this is when he enjoys his happy family life. She hasn't been heard of in 6 years or so.
What kind of an age is he at this stage? Do we know?
What kind of age is he at?
When he goes back to Argentina at that stage?
Yeah, geez, he's probably, 18, 16.
You're asking him to do
Probably
quick
getting
maths
on.
now. It's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, I don't remember what year I said he was born in. No, he's probably touching 40.
Right, wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, he's touching 40 and got one leg, so that's a good time to get out of the
Yeah.
game. So now they're trying to figure out. It's the same with everyone. Same with Ireland. Any time a country gets its own independence, the first question is, what now?
Yeah.
Who's in charge?
Yeah.
So they're all fighting for an independent Argentina that isn't under Spanish rule. And then once they get it, they're like, well, obviously we all wanted it to look like this. And then everyone disagrees. So you got the...
And let me tell you, it hasn't fucking stopped since.
It hasn't stopped. So this is... this period is basically every, like, Paraguay, Uruguay, Bolivia, they all get independence. Then the first question is, well, what the fuck do we do with it now?
Yeah.
Civil war. So the Argentinians, there's people... the people in charge want a centralized government like the old days. And then they're against the gauchos, the cowboys.
So the gauchos had their own bloody rule, is it?
The gauchos just want less government, more farming.
Yeah.
Because they're rich as shit, because the main export is beef. They control the beef. And apparently if you become a big enough gaucho, you become codilos.
All right.
Do you know? It's just a warlord.
Right, okay.
Or some sort of cow warlord.
Jesus.
And one such warlord was Juan Manuel Jose Domingo Ortiz de Rosas.
Juan Manuel Jose Domingo Ortiz de Rosas, or Rosas.
Yeah.
Rosas. I keep going because that's Portuguese, but
but he go on to become the leader of Argentina. But I thought that was basically because beef is such a main thing. They're just cattle farmers.
Yeah.
Who become so good at cattle farming.
Wealthy, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't
want anyone else controlling it.
No, and they want less government, less taxes, more cows.
As you're saying that, I'm picturing like a gaucho now. I remember I got a bus from Mendoza in the wine region in the north, west of the country, down to I think it was San Jose de Bariloche, which is in Patagonia, beautiful glacial, kind of stunning mountain ranges and all that stuff. But anyway, it's a long bus. It was like 15 hours in the bus or whatever. But as you're going down, you're going through Las Pampas, and the Andes are in the background. And I just remember seeing a gaucho. Like we'd been on this road in the middle of fucking nowhere for hours, and he just on his horse. Like I was like, wow. Like that was the real. As you're saying, like they don't want anyone controlling them. That was the exact thought that I had when I saw that guy. I was like, where the fuck is he off to? He's just doing his own thing.
Which I thought there should be more. There probably is that I just don't know about. But like, you know, cowboy and Indian Western films are massive here for the older generation. There should be loads of class South American cowboy stories.
The gaucho movies,
out in their own. It's basically the same, except everyone's much more handsome and has a better accent.
But they wear those, you know, the kind of. And I wonder, is that a harp back to maybe more the indigenous people? But they do wear those gaucho kind of ponchos. Very nicely designed gaucho ponchos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They had a different look. All right, we used to have a poncho, like a one in the house that was like used as a throw on the back of the couch, like you know what I mean, kind of thing, with a little hole in it. Put over your head. Yeah, I
suppose they probably did, because I think they spread down closer to Patagonia where the indigenous people would have been, and they probably were more likely to be mating with them and taking their ideas all the rest,
their clothes and everything else.
But old Farmer Brown, these are his like Thanos years where he decides to give it all up and become a farmer and talk to his wife he hasn't seen in a decade. He can't stay in retirement long though.
Chitty, you're not vegetarian, are you?
Fucking hell. You're still on that Protestant stuff.
Them Protestant vegetables.
Jesus. Aubergines and all those fancy ones. But there's the Cisplatina region, which is basically just modern Uruguay.
Okay.
The Spanish and Portuguese have been beating the shit out of each other for centuries over the region. And once Argentina becomes its own thing, it's like, fuck it. We'll go after it as well.
Argentina?
Yep. That's what the locals call it. There's no time for corrections now. The Portuguese, it was called the Banda Oriental del Uruguay. The Portuguese had invaded in 1816. Took control of the region in 1820, just in time for the Brazilians to gain independence in 1822. So they had it for about 2 years, then Brazil's like, fuck off. Again, they're all distracted in Europe by all the battles. So now this region's kind of up for grabs. And it's right beside Buenos Aires, so the Argentinians are kind of, if someone gets control of that, makes it easy to attack Buenos Aires. So they declare war in 1825. So Brown, in the interim years, has apparently spent his whole time banging on about them getting a navy,
right,
and putting him in charge of said navy. But it is funny, like he's a hero until he starts fucking around and getting up to too much antics and chasing out the Spanish. Now it costs us too much money, fuck out, and then he becomes a foreigner.
Yeah, okay.
And they stop listening to him until all of a sudden they're getting invaded by the Brazilians, and now they want old Brown back.
Like Bill.
Bill, man. Well, it's but also
Amigo!
my old friend.
Billy, old pal, let me tell you.
Jesus Christ. But also in the interim, like 10 years or whatever, that no one's learned how to sail. They have no other options. He's the only guy. It's like every 80s movie that
It's
just had
not
to
doing
drag.
go for the Argentinian stereotype at all, is it?
No. God, we didn't think about it.
Yeah. Shite, we should have learned to do this for ourselves.
Mañana. We'll get there.
What do you get when the entire country's gorgeous?
Yeah.
Why would we sail anywhere, amigo? We've
Yeah.
got everything here.
Yeah. We don't need anything else. Yeah.
We were watching Michael Mann's Manhunter last night.
All right.
Fun to say. But it's all those 80s films where there's only one man for the job.
Yeah.
So surely there's at least a second, if not third man for the job. But
Yeah. No.
apparently not. So they go and get Brown out of retirement, and now he's delighted. He's sick of shitty. He's getting everyone building ships, and he's going out to battle against the Brazilians, who are backed by... It seems the same thing on the other side. The Brazilians also don't have anyone to sail ships, so they get an English man called James Norton. So now the two of these guys are about to start battling for the sanctity of the newly formed Argentina. Stakes are high.
And for the crack, we'll throw in the 6 counties.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are they? Oh, you'll know all about that soon enough. So Brian, he gives two of his most famous quotes. Comrades, confident. It's hard to know what he'd sound like at this point. A Mayo man that's grown up in the US, England, and Argentina.
And England as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what his accent would be.
He'd be all over the shop. But
Have a go.
comrades, confidence in victory, discipline, and 3 hails to the motherland. That was pretty good because it went all over the place.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
yeah.
bad, yeah. His second one was Han Mayo, but
Mayo for Sam.
Mayo for Sam. That was lost at times. The second one was open fire. The people are watching us, because this has all been done. Like there's a blockade just outside the city. Everyone can see what's happening, but they go out and they break through the blockade, and he starts chasing the Brazilians up and down the coast of Brazil.
Come here, you're gorgeous.
They're fucking coming. Slow down. It wouldn't be the first time a Mayo man chased the Brazilian up around the country, but that battle.
Do you have any Irish in you?
Just get me within shouting range, men. I'll do the rest. Wind down the window of the ship. But
One arm out the window of the ship.
well, lads,
What are you doing? I'm cruising, kid.
But that battle goes on for like 5 years with the Brazilians. Eventually settles in 1828. There was a Treaty of Montevideo where Guillermo is now like a stately figure. He's sitting in as the ambassador for Argentina at this, even though he's the Mayo man. He's the best man for the job. And this is when Uruguay gets sort of created. They settle their differences and just make Uruguay its own thing. So it's Uruguayan Independence Day. Oh, fuck. That was, 4th of October. Only a couple of days ago.
No.
I can't believe we missed it. Another celebration slipped by. So, the following year, 1829, the cow lord we were talking about, De Rosa. I'm saying cow lord, and that sounds quite dismissive, but he was apparently a very bad man who killed an awful lot of people while he was in charge of Argentina, so I don't know. Fuck him. So he's in charge. He's friends with the president of Uruguay at the time, a man called Manuel Orbe. Uruguay is the same thing we were chatting about earlier on. Gets its independence, civil war. Half the people fuck him out. It's the Blancos who support Orbe against the Colorados. But they're backed by the French and the English, who are friends again now.
Right. Jesus Christ.
It's not worth keeping track of who is on each other's side.
It's more complicated than Love Island, isn't it? With all the relationships going on here.
You'd be
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
easier.
Yeah.
And if you look at any one of these periods, you're like, oh yeah, right, the French were mortal enemies with English. And then 6 months later, it's like, oh, they're best friends and solving the problems of the world.
Yeah.
And 6 months after that. But anyway, they get Brown back into active service for one more job. One last time.
One more Nixer.
One last job.
So in the 40s,
You can't fail. It's easy.
you know it all.
You couldn't possibly.
He's like, fucking get me out of here. The wife's driving me mad. We've got 17 children now. I don't know how it's happening. But he goes out. So
William, there's been 17 last jobs. Just one more.
I suppose people think, like, Die Hard is ridiculous. But these men didn't have much else to be at. I mean...
Yeah, that's true.
He seemed probably like a very highly strung farmer.
Mm.
But in the 1840s, they're fighting in this Brazilian War. The only kind of interesting bit of this is that he gets a man called Giuseppe Garibaldi, He comes into his captivity. Garibaldi will go on to be like a leading figure in the unification of Italy about 20 years after this. So I think at the time they're sort of renowned for their violence against captives, but Brown is very civil to him, treats him very decently, to the point where Garibaldi would name his grandson after Brown years later on. So this guy is like, at the time Italy was a load of different states, so he's a responsible figure for getting Italy to unify. But a more interesting fact for him for this podcast is that he was leading figure in the Ragamuffin War.
Oh, yeah.
Garibaldi was a ragamuffin. The ragamuffins revolted against the imperial government in Brazil. And that's it. It doesn't have any bearing in this, but he fights on the side of the ragamuffins. Back when that was I don't know if that's where that phrase comes from.
Must be.
Yeah, it has
Must
to
be.
Why not?
Why not?
Well, there's no way. It has to be.
Another set of ragamuffins.
Yeah.
It does make the whole thing much more adorable to know.
Of course,
the scallywags and the ragamuffins. The bowled boys. But so that's pretty much those are his three battles. He's like the defender of Buenos Aires. He fights against the Spanish. He fights against the Brazilians. He fights against the French on behalf of the Uruguayans. He seems to be the only man who can sail a boat in Argentina. Supposedly, when all the fighting was done, he went home to Foxford with his daughter to see the old place.
Really?
No, I don't think that's
I
true.
don't think
that's what fucking Sligo Mayo Tourism says.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think
they
he
do.
ever came back.
They're as bad as fucking Barack Obama Plaza, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or else he did it just as a way to go like, if you don't shut up, this is where you're going. Like,
There is a statue of him in Foxford, and there is one down there in the,
Yeah.
in the Keys. On the
There's
south side
there's one down.
But
on
Sir John Rogerson Quay, yeah.
So how long did he spend in Foxford before he left?
He's only a kid, wasn't
Yeah, he left. Yeah, probably less than 15 years anyway.
Oh, okay.
But what are you trying to imply?
No, that counts. 15 years.
It does
That
count.
counts.
He was born there. It's grand.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's loads of stuff named after him. Yeah, the statue in John Rogers' Quay. Apparently, there are over 1,200 streets named after him in
Yeah.
Argentina.
A futsal team as well in Dublin. I was just saying, I played for
Futsal team,
FC Guillermo in Dublin here. Futsal team, yeah.
Very good.
Had the Mayo colours in the crest, and then the jersey was Argentina colours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's Club Social Atletico Guillermo Brown.
Is there? I didn't
Is
know.
there? Yeah, mostly known as Guillermo Brown or Brown de Puerto Madrina, Argentinian.
Puerto Madryn.
Yeah,
Puerto Madryn, yeah.
In
That's a lovely area. That's like
yeah.
what would you call the equivalent here? Like, you know, the Gran Canal Dock kind of area type of thing
okay.
of Buenos Aires, like all the nice apartments and all that crack.
So they put him in Gran Canal Dock here as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Grand Canal Dock, or as we call it, Dublin's red light district.
Is it? Oh, because that's red lights.
Yeah, all the
Yeah,
Everyone's like,
Wait,
how does he know that? It's like, oh yeah, those are the actual red lights there.
swim
Yeah,
down there. The wolf,
That's where you've been going at night.
the wolf tones of a song about him.
I did not know that.
Yeah, a song called Admiral William Brown.
Admiral William.
Yeah. If
Are you
only
sure
They're
it
making a
was about
comeback
him?
at the moment.
yeah, exactly. If only the Irish female team had been singing that song,
yeah.
it would have been grand.
But his story is quite like it is. It would be a great movie, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It'd be a great movie. Like it's quite a character.
yeah. I think I didn't understand how big of a figure he was in Argentinian history. It's like basically that 15 or 20 year period where Argentina becomes its own country, and it kicks off a series of revolutions of independence all around the whole continent.
And he was so central to it.
He was there, yeah.
My dad
on
went
ships.
to because my dad worked in the merchant navy. That was his first job. And when he went to like the naval offices in Buenos Aires once, he was looking to see if he could find the documents from when my grandmother emigrated over.
Yeah.
But as soon as my dad speaks perfect Spanish, like and all, but as soon as they knew he was Irish in the offices of the Argentinian Navy, they were like all over him, like you know. So it's like it's a big deal. It's a big big massive respect about it. Yeah,
There's
for
still a load of ships. I didn't go through the whole list, but loads of there are Argentinian Navy vessels are named after him.
sure. Yeah.
I think. Well, this is we won't finish on this because it's too sad of a note. But the Argentinian ambassador for Ireland died during COVID.
Oh right,
Dublin.
I didn't know that actually. No.
Laura Bernal, and she was buried. They buried her in Foxford
Oh my goodness.
because of the connection.
Wow. Well,
But-
she would have been the person that would have signed off on my passport because I got it done all through here.
If only you hadn't lost it. That's pretty disrespectful.
that's
Mayo.
pretty
I fucking hope I haven't. Anyway, it's got to be somewhere. I know it's hit. I know it's. It's one of those things that I've put it away somewhere.
Yeah,
somewhere
so
safe
that you
that
can't find
I'll
it.
never see it again
Yeah.
until I move house.
And it'll just be 2 days out of date then.
Definitely.
But the other, I didn't know this either. Apparently, since 2012, every time Argentina plays Ireland in international rugby, they compete for the La Copa Almirante Brown.
I did
The
not
Admiral
know
Brown
that.
Cup.
I
No,
didn't know that
Jeez.
either.
Yeah.
I always thought you were going to say usually when we play them, they smash us.
no, because I
That's-
looked into it. We've won every time.
No, that's not true.
It's only in international test matches because I know they beat us.
Yeah,
No,
no,
yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah,
Argentina
every
knocked Ireland out of the
important
World
game.
Cup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I know,
Argentina
yeah.
knocked them out twice. I think. in a
98.
I
row.
remember watching that in
Yeah,
Berlin.
yeah.
Yeah, but so since 2012, they played 5 international test matches and Ireland's won all 5 of them. But yeah, they get knocked out every time it
In the
counts.
tournaments.
But
yeah.
we get to keep the Brown Cup.
Yeah.
So
now the
a
Admiral Brown
cup
Cup.
that no one knows exists.
yeah, exactly.
But and then the other funny note is we'll do an episode about this guy again. But Bernardo O'Higgins,
Oh,
A
I have definitely heard that
Yeah.
name actually.
he's a Sligo man and a leading revolutionary figure in Chile. So
Oh,
he's
right.
around the same time period when Guillermo is helping lead Argentina to independence. He's down in Chile leading them to independence.
We really did get all over.
But it's
I mean,
also
fucking
it's
two
so
boys.
impressive the size of look on a map. Anyone who's listening to this, look on a map. The
Yeah.
size of Ireland and the size of Argentina, or the size of Ireland and the size of South America, and that we have people that have influenced such
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
states to that degree. Like it's
Because
like
when we did, was it Don Julio, the
Yeah.
governor of Texas, like the 47th governor of Texas,
Right.
and he was only like an interim, so for maybe 6 months or a year. But one of his cousins or his nephew was in charge of like Louisiana.
Yeah.
But before they'd changed the borders around, so at the time that was like. But that family they were reigning over a bigger amount of land than the 13 original colonies of America.
right.
Just like 2 lads from, I think they're from Mayo or close around the same.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I can only imagine that, like, well, O'Higgins and Guillermo just getting in a room together and be like, I haven't a fucking clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm going
Listen, just don't show them. Just don't show them how to use the ships, and then we're grand.
Don't say nothing, boy. Keep it fucking
Yeah.
wished. We'll be
Yeah.
running this place. Why do you think there's Irish bars everywhere in the world?
Yeah,
That's
just-
all. That was our only demand.
Just stay 2 steps ahead of them. Starboard, lads.
That's what I was gonna say.
I just realised, I as you were talking there, just realising all the Irish names that of people that I know over there that are Argentinians.
Oh yeah.
But like, you know, surnames like Mackey, like,
Yeah.
like it's just nuts. Juan
Was it
Mackey.
Messi's like original team? Is it? Oh no, that's New and Old Boys. Who's the
Newell's
one?
Old Boys, yeah.
Who's the one who's from O'Higgins? Because there's the O'Higgins Club.
Oh, is there an O'Higgins club? Is there?
There's a few different ones. They're probably not in the
Someone
Premier,
connected to the football club. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do know that there's an area of Buenos Aires called Hurlingham, which was, and what there was, I don't know if it still is, but the area is still called that. But I don't. There was a hurling pitch there at some point. You know, there was a gap pitch there at
Right.
some point. Yeah.
Well, they'd said, yeah, we covered that in the episode we did before, and I think they said, like, at one point it was just up until World War One or two that, like, hurling was a fairly well-played sport.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the exact same rules as what we have, like, here at the time,
Yeah.
but that it was, like, surprisingly popular. They're like, yeah, why
Yeah.
not? You need another sport. Like, maybe it was before rugby came over.
Yeah, they do love their
well-
stick sports. They love polo.
Some
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
claim that we invented the Highley.
The Highley.
Yeah.
What's that?
Fuck, is that what it's
Good-
called?
good
What's the
question.
one
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
scoop and the
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've seen that. Do they play in Argentina? I know they play in Spain for sure, but I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to be honest. I made up that fact there. I'm
Right,
just
okay.
Like, yeah, that's. I just like claiming things.
Any chance to...
There's another sport played with a ball, not
Yeah.
unlike hurling.
I thought
Yeah.
it was just any excuse to get a Mad Men reference into the podcast.
Oh yeah, they get big in highlights. Or lacrosse. Is that a Latin America sport?
I don't know actually.
I don't
I
know.
think
No,
that's...
I think
it's
Actually,
like a-
fuck, we invented that as well.
Sure, yeah.
Sports. Yeah, that was
Sports.
us.
Yeah,
That was us,
yeah,
yeah.
you're fucking welcome, South America. You give us attractive people to sort our population out. We give you fucking sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
And the Argentinian Navy.
and the Argentinian Navy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The home gets pretty nice as well. But the Navy's grand.
There he is. That's what he's here for. That's what he's fucking. One just takes his time, sees his shot.
Wait for it.
He's like, what's the
Haymaker. He's like William Wallace, isn't he? Like, remember that scene?
Oh yeah, hold. The fucking The Simpsons when everyone's fighting and it's just like that small Asian man in the white suit hasn't done anything yet. You know it's going to be awesome. Boy, yeah, thanks a million for coming.
Thanks for having me on, lads. Yeah, and it was good to. I was actually pleased about good chunks of it that I did know, but like, what a life! So interesting.
Yeah,
so interesting.
An insane life, and I guess that's to go back to what we were talking about. I don't know, was it on this one or the first one? But hey, you think of Ireland in the 90s and the 80s growing up, you're like, it's fucking just white Catholic people up to nothing.
Yeah,
we were all over the shop.
We were all over the
everything.
Place. Yeah.
But fair play to us. Have you got any questions about Guillermo? I forgot his real name there for a second. William.
William
spent
Brown.
far too long in the last few days reading about Argentinian history.
That was impressive research.
Look at all these tabs I can close now.
I'm just remembering it.
Yeah.
He says the last few days, a lot of it was around the kitchen table this morning.
Oh, yeah. A lot of cram in there. But,
the only time I've ever seen him be like, do you know what would be great? If you put on headphones
yeah,
and fucking left.
Did you say that?
Yeah, he was sitting in the grocery just playing stuff and he was like, man, the fucking this podcast is great. It's like, yeah, it'd be better if you check out the fucking headphones there.
That was nicely put, though.
I was very polite about it.
Rather than fuck off.
Fuck off. Yeah. But sure, we may, now I've learned all this stuff about Argentina.
Muy bien.
Yeah.
Muchísimas gracias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, didn't get that, but same to yourself. Same to yourself.
Igualmente, you'd say.
No.
I know. Thanks.
I feel like I've embarrassed the nation enough trying to say juntas.
Junta and juntas.
I was practicing that in the mirror earlier. Anyway, cheers.
Shafter.
Yeah, good luck.